Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Career Calling Summit. I am Jess Smith, and today we're speaking with Bobby Umar.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
Good, good, excited.
Me too. So, Bobby is an international speaker, coach, and one of the most prolific advocates of heart based leadership in North America. He is an author of 3 books, including an international #1 bestseller, and most recently, he was named a top 7 networking guru to follow. He founded the DYPB Discover Your Personal Brand Conference, the largest event in North America dedicated solely to personal branding. And more than 250,000 people from across the world have experienced Bobby's high energy keynotes, interactive team building activities, and engaging workshops. So super excited to have you here today, Bobby. And we are going to be talking about networking, which is a topic that I love. I think that
Mhm.
it's something that's super important, in your personal life and your professional life. So would love to kick things off by just hearing a little bit about your general philosophy on networking.
Sure. I mean, networking is something that a lot of people get thrown off by the word, but ultimately it's cultivating relationships, it's building connections. It's really about trying to start those relationships. So that's really what networking is when we talk about it. So one part of it is, what do we do to build the relationship in a way that's going to add mutual benefit to both of us? That's the first thing. The second philosophy I have on networking is about giving. It's not really about, yes, there's going to be an opportunity someday to take something or get something. But to me, it's about giving. Have a philosophy of how can I help you? How can I help you make a difference? How can I invest and support you in what you're doing? And when I network with people, that's the first thing I think about. So one of my philosophies about networking is about giving. And then ultimately, networking is also a huge part of thought leadership. Like if you want to be seen as a thought leader, and you want to build a strong personal brand around yourself, a big part of thought leadership personal branding is having a strong network, building tons of connections, broad basic connections, and also having deep connections with people that you really resonate with. And that's an important aspect for any thought leader that wants to be there. So for me, that's my main take on networking.
Okay, I love that. I love that, you think of it as more of like, how can I help you? How can I give to you? Because I think that often, especially when you're kind of thinking of networking through the lens of getting a job, it's kind of like, what can you give me? What can you give me? So I love the thought of just what can I share with you and how can I help you benefit as well? That's really cool.
It's very similar to sales too. Like a lot of people, even people in sales, they say, don't sell, find out what they're going through, what they need, and how you can help them. It's the
Yes.
same thing with building relationships too.
Yeah, exactly. And so you also mentioned, that even just the word networking kind of throws people off, brings
Mhm.
up a little bit of fear sometimes for people.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Why do people have like resistance to networking?
Well, most people are fearful or have doubts about networking for a variety of reasons. The mindset's always a one thing, who am I? Do I have any value? That mindset kind of slows them down in terms of thinking that they can actually benefit from it or they can do something about it. So the mindset is one thing that holds you back. The second thing is tactics, with the lack of tactics. Where do I start? What do I say? Who do I approach? How do I follow up? Because you don't know what to do, that also affects your mindset in terms of actually even starting, and it creates fear and doubt in actually doing so. And also, we can't really envision the end result. Like, what's the end result of actually really good networking? Well, a really good networking situation could take a year, and
Yeah.
then next thing you know, they hire you for something that you've known them for an entire year without anything happening. So we don't think about that end result. That's a long term. It's a long term game plan, right? So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. And then the third reason why people struggle with networking is they don't have the right plan. They don't think about their target, their objectives. Like, what's my objective for this event? What's my objective for this conference? What do I want to accomplish? Who am I in terms of my brand? What do I try and do to build my leads, my business, my career? And so for me, the three big things is, not having the right mindset, not having the right tactics and strategy, not having the right plan. And that's what stops people from networking effectively.
Cool. And so let's start with that first one, the mindset. So how can people change their mindset? Like, how does confidence play into that? And how can they get in a good state of mind to make networking a positive experience for everyone?
Well, one of the best ways to build your mindset is to go back to the philosophy of giving and helping. If your objective is to I need to get this, I need to have this happen for me,
Yeah.
then it's going to put a lot of pressure on you. But if you go there with the mindset of I want to go help people, I want to go help and meet some really interesting people and help them the best I can. Just have that helpful mindset. That's one way to shift it. Have a curiosity mindset. I want to be curious to understand people's stories and brands and lives. That's another really, really good thing.
Yeah.
That's one way to shift it. The other way to actually to shift the mindset is actually preparation. So we talked about tactics and strategies, right? So if you prepare in terms of, here are the 5 questions I want to ask people. So a lot of introverts struggle. I did a training on how introverts network. And one of the things I said was introverts have really good powers of preparation. So prepare 10 questions that you can ask that are more than just simple, what do you do and where do you live?
Hmm.
Very yes and type question. If you that preparation will actually make you feel more comfortable. It'll lessen the doubt and anxiety of networking. So that preparation will help. The second thing is the targeting. If you know exactly who you want to target and who you're looking for and what type of person you want to network with, then there's more focus at that network. And that focus allows you to have more confidence because now you meet somebody and you realize right away within a couple minutes, they're not your target and they're not your focus. And it's not really, so then you have the tactic and strategy that you prepare and learn on how to end it and move on to another person. And so for me, all those things are going to help you build more confidence and build a better mindset to networking. So one is change your mind shift perception of what you're cultivating relationships for and how. And the second thing is thinking about the actual preparation, which is actually going to lessen your fears.
Yeah. And I think that having a plan piece of it is great just because, it can in and of itself be overwhelming to walk into a room of people and be like, okay, who am I going to talk to? Where am I going to go? Where do I
Yeah.
kind of fit in here? So to have that laid out in your mind of like, okay, here are some like questions top of mind.
Right.
I can ask people. I can definitely see that bringing, a sense of calm. And I love taking on a mindset of curiosity as well. I think that's I tend to be a very curious person and I like to
Good.
ask questions and get to know people. And I found that people like talking about themselves. They love
Sure.
sharing. They love
Yeah.
sharing their experiences with others. So that totally works to your advantage. When you do take on that genuine curiosity mindset of wanting to get to know this other person, people like definitely want to share with you.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Okay, cool. And so we touched on the confidence piece.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that, especially for confidence for maybe like in a group setting for networking and then confidence for maybe going into a one-on-one networking setting.
Well, I think most people are far more confident in the one-on-one than they are in the group one-on-group type
Yeah.
thing. But I don't expect everyone to be good with the one-on-group thing. I mean, as an extrovert, I certainly can go on a one-on-group thing with like 6 people and just start talking and being part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Confidence again comes from mindset, but also and it comes from planning, but it also comes from how you engage. So for example, if I join a group or even as a one-on-one person, a part of my confidence will come from smiling. It'll come from asking really thoughtful questions, showing that I'm really listening, and my body language. All these different things will demonstrate the confidence that I have. Going back to again being curious and helpful. That's really what I'm thinking about. And so that people will see your confidence just in terms of how you stand and how you smile. I'm a very tall person, so I have that advantage. Other people are good at smiling; they have that advantage. Some people just dress really well; that actually has an advantage. These are all things that are going to give you an advantage when it comes to building that confidence, whether it's one-on-one or in groups.
Yeah, I love that. So then moving to kind of the strategy piece of it, how do people identify who they should be networking with? Because I think that that's something that people feel a little lost on as well. They're like, where do I even start with this?
Yeah. So and the other thing is which networking events to go to, because you can go to a networking event and they're not your target at all, and it's a complete waste of time, or at least not as valuable as it could be. I don't think anything's a waste of time. I think that there's less opportunity though. So a big part of it is personal branding, like knowing exactly like what exactly is your brand stand for? What's your expertise? What are you trying to do? If you have a business, are you trying to get ahead in your career? What exactly are you trying to do? Because based on that objective, then you should have a target. So, for example, if let's say I'm a shoemaker. That's a totally extreme example. I'm a shoemaker, and I want to build my business in shoemaking. Well, then there's a conference for shoemaking. Okay, that's something I should go to. And I want to talk to people who make shoes. I want to talk to people who distribute shoes. I want to talk to people who are buying and selling shoes at retail. These are the people I want to talk to. And so, based on that target, I now know who to kind of go after. And you can even go on LinkedIn and search, shoes and see who are shoes. Maybe I want to meet a couple of influencers who are big on fashion and want to talk about shoes. And so these are all different things you can do to come up with the key targets of people you want to meet. whether on LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever, or the live networking event. So having that target allows you to pinpoint the key people that are there. And again, the other thing I'll say is when you target an event, you can't target everybody. It just takes forever. So pick the 4 or 5 key people. Anyone else beyond that is bonus, which is great. But just focus on the 4 or 5 people you really, really want to talk to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think so. Part of my story, I made a career pivot in my past from the retail space to the recruiting space. And I had no recruiting experience. I didn't really know a ton of people in this space, but I just, from my connections on LinkedIn, I was able to kind of find people who knew people who were in the recruiting space. And even just like cold reach outs to them on LinkedIn where I was like, hey, I'm really interested, again, going back to the curiosity thing, to learn a little bit more about you and like, what's your day-to-day like? People responded so positively to that. And I think that networking, this just goes back to like how key it is. Like I got my job through networking is how it kind of ended up. I had a friend who had a friend in a recruiting job at a large tech company in San Francisco. And so I think that just, even like cultivating like your friendships and like asking like, who do you know?
Sure. I would say 80% of all my opportunities have come from networking. That even includes, personal relationships. Like my friends, my wife, like I met her through networking. Like that's just how it happens.
Yeah, I like to kind of go through life thinking you never know what doors someone could possibly open for you. So always make that connection.
Yeah. And I take the same thing. And my big quote on my email is, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. So
Love that.
build the door to networking. Don't just wait.
Yeah, you have to be proactive about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what other strategies can you give us for networking, maybe specifically to help find a job if you're looking for more information on that, or maybe there's a role that you're interested in applying to? How would you recommend that people go about networking to specifically land a job?
Well, the first thing I'll say is, do you want it, right? Do you have the hustle? Do you really want this job? So if you do, there's a few things you can do that really impress me. Like, for example, I sent a note out I was looking for a couple of people to with business development and event management experience. And so what impresses me is responsiveness. I love that, right? They send me their resume, then I send them an email, they respond really quickly. And I understand people are busy and stuff, but if you respond, the same day, I'm impressed. That hustle really impresses me. So one of the big things that a lot of young people could do better is the responsiveness. One is responding quickly. One is responding thoughtfully. One is responding in depth in a way that's meaningful and adds value to the conversation, what we're trying to do. I think those things are really important. Because they'll often just some of the really bad ones will just say, so what kind of job are you applying for? So they'll send me a resume. I'll say, okay, great. You didn't tell me what you're applying for. What kind of job are you looking for? And they're like, not sure. Okay, well, that's not really helpful. Like, seriously, take the time to add value to your response. That to me is really huge. Another tip I'll give for career searchers is, targeting the right people and reaching out to them and actually not being afraid to call them. Call the corporate office and say, I'd like to speak to the manager of such and such and their name and have a conversation with them and see if that works. And I know people think that's so aggressive. I mean, but before the internet, that's what people did. They called you and you had a conversation. But what's amazing about a phone call is that statistically, a 5-minute phone call is equivalent to 3 to 7 emails over 3 weeks. So you think about that, right? The immediacy of what's happening in 5 minutes, and you can maybe potentially book a follow-up or a meeting or whatever it might be. That's amazing, right? Instead of waiting for the emails to show up. I think that's really powerful. And the third thing I'll say when it comes to career thing, and this is something that I actually just told my students last night because I teach a course at university. I said, look, guys, every single one of you, even if you're only in university or college, you should be building thought leadership around your brand, which means you should create content around the things you care about and what you want to build expertise in. So if you are searching for a career in, let's say, recruiting, okay, since you're a recruiter, right? Write some articles, do a video, do a blog post on trends in recruiting or trends in tech and recruiting, HR trends, like whatever. Because as soon as I look you up, because I will look you up, I Google everybody,
Yeah.
but we all do this.
Yep.
And I see on your profile, aside from your connections and your profile and the nice summary and whatever, I see that you've written 3 blog posts about, trends in recruiting. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is really thoughtful. It's really, that impresses a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there's a 24-year-old guy who does smartphone and he analyzes smartphones, right? And
Okay.
after done 100 videos, he's now the guy people trust him because they want to know what his thoughts are on the new iPhone X, and because he's
Yeah.
done that. That's amazing. So you can do that too, no matter what age you are.
Yeah, that's cool. Creating your brand and that credibility is huge.
Yeah, yeah,
I love that you touched on, calling people,
yeah.
especially being in the recruiting world. That was something that was really uncomfortable for me at first. I'm very good at, reaching out via email. I love writing, so all of that's like very comfortable to me. But to just like pick up the phone and be like, hey, this is Jess. I was really hoping to talk to you about like A, B, and C, and like this is why I'm excited. Even from a candidate perspective, because I was like cold calling candidates type of thing.
Right.
Was a little nerve-wracking, but it was like the more that I did it, I was like, oh, people are again happy to connect, and like you said, they appreciate the hustle, where they're like, wow, no one has like called me, like thank you for calling me type of thing.
Yeah, and another question that I get asked a lot from networking is, how do I actually follow up? I met someone at an event. How do I follow up?
Yeah.
So the best way to do this really is, first off, do it quickly within a couple business days. Don't like wait weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
Couple business days. Don't do it that night because that's creepy. But wait till the next business day. Okay. And then you follow up with number one, give them context, right? I mentioned this event, such and such and such. Number two, offer some gratitude. I really appreciated your thoughts on this, or I was impressed by this. Number three, what's the ask? Go for the ask, right? So I'd like to share this article with you. I'd like to set up a 5-minute phone call to talk about such and such. I'd like to refer you to this person. Create some sort of value add that gets them, or even ask them a really thoughtful question that you want an answer to, and then keep it concise. And that's it. That's the 4 things you do to follow up, but make sure you do that because a lot of people don't do it. Most people don't follow up. Like it's actually quite amazing. I would say from my own anecdotal statistical experience, I'd say the follow-up numbers are like 5%, 5%,
Wow,
5% or less.
that's crazy.
So I, for example, I'll go to an event, I'll give out 20 business cards, and I'll say, yeah, contact me if you. And I don't give my business cards like paper. I give them to people I think is really, might be a good connection. Of those 20 people, maybe one or two will contact me. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So be the one that set yourself apart.
Yeah, because then again, it goes back to like, you never know, like connecting with you could lead to some other crazy connection.
Well, and 2 things, not following up renders networking useless. What's the point of getting the card or ad on LinkedIn if you don't follow up? And number 2, every person's a bridge to someone or something else. You have no idea that they may have an uncle who works for the company you want to work for. You have no idea. So, you want to work that.
Yeah. And then I think I'm just thinking back to, being at Salesforce is where I worked in San Francisco. And it's a pretty popular company. A lot of people want to work there. And when people would reach out to me about working at Salesforce, if they could make it personal and be genuine and have like a little connection piece, like that meant so much to me. And it's funny because it's like, I don't even know you, but now I want to help you because this awesome note. And it's just, again, like that connection. And then the follow-up is huge because it's like, if I'm going to help you out and do you a favor and I might not even know you, you're not going to follow up with me. It's kind of like, well, did you even care? Like,
yeah, I have emails like, oh, Bobby, I met you. It was so great. I really appreciate it. And here's my resume, and let me know if I can help you. And I'll say, sure, okay, here's what I can help with. And then nothing. Crickets. Where are you? So a week goes by. That's ridiculous.
that is ridiculous.
Irresponsive.
Great tips. So we are running out of time, but you have a free gift that you want to offer listeners. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of my, in terms of the work I've been doing, I've been talking about networking for 15 years all around the world. And so I've created a program called Networking Mastery. It's basically 12 modules of 16 hours of content of all my best stuff on everything to do with networking. Live events, online, personal branding, networking, and that kind of stuff. But what I'd like to offer everybody is actually access to my first module, which is called Why Networking and How to Build a Winning Mindset. So it takes you through the whole process of how to build a better mindset for networking. And I'd like to offer that to everybody.
It's incredible.
So module 1, I'm very excited about that.
Awesome. Love it. And do you want to tell people where they can get back in touch with you about your website, or where's the best way to find you online?
Yeah, so my website is www.rayallen.com, Raeallan. That's my website. But I'm also available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter with my hashtag Rayhan Bobby, RaehanBobby.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Bobby. It's been wonderful chatting with you. Excellent tips, that hopefully people can break down some of those walls around networking and use them.
Thanks, Jess, and I hope people follow up.
Take care, and I will see the rest of you on our next episode.